Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Stinchfield. The United States Senate right now is in complete violation of its official duties. Not that that means anything, not that they can be punished other than at the ballot box or by doing programs like this, but the United States Senate right now is shirking its responsibility, not just to President Trump, but to the American people. Let's go through it. On the Democrats is this DHS funding bill. Has anyone even heard anybody talking about this right now? We have the Coast Guard, we've got Secret Service, we've got TSA, all of these Homeland Security departments, including FEMA, shut down because of the Democrats. And it's like it's not even going on. Then on the Republicans, you've got the SAVE Act, which to me doesn't look like it's going to go through. Sad reality. And then on both Democrats and Republicans is President Trump's inability to get a lot of his nominations through. He still has at least 700-800 nominations to get passed through the United States Senate. We're now over a year into his term. That's bad news. Now, when it comes to all of this, well, let's just start with Chuck Schumer, okay? Part of the problem.
A week ago Monday, we still haven't heard back. Crickets. And so it's in their court. As for getting this done, we all want to see TSA and the other agencies funded. That's up to the Republicans. Very simply, all they have to do is agree with our simple ideas that every police department just about in America follows, and we'll get it all done. It's plain and simple.
Agree with his ideas. What he actually means is agree with our demands, because what he's done is taken the nation hostage, taken national security hostage, and that's a problem, not to mention the good people of TSA and Social Security and Secret Service that literally are now going without paychecks. Now, ICE is funded through the one big, beautiful bill, but still, listen to this, Mark Alford. This is Republican congressman.
I will say to the Democrats out there listening now, we have fully funded ICE through the one big beautiful bill. So that fight is not a good fight for you to take up right now. What you are putting in jeopardy is the safety of American citizens that rely on FEMA, that rely on the Coast Guard, that rely on the Secret Service, that rely on cybersecurity to keep us safe in America.
And what happens this summer in the United States? We have FIFA World Cup coming here in 11 separate cities. You don't think that's a target? You don't think we need to be getting ready for that? It puts a lot of the security preparations on hold right now. Democrats don't care. Here's the Secretary, Kristi Noem.
Well, I wish I could do more right now. My department isn't funded. You know, it's the Department of Homeland Security that is supposed to be making sure that these large-scale events across the country are safe. They're national security events, Tier 1 events, which means they're the utmost priority in making sure that we keep people safe.
So when I tell you the Senate is shirking its responsibility, I mean it. And I blame Republicans almost as much as I blame Democrats for this. And if we go back to the SAVE Act, which is literally the most important piece of legislation we have ever had, that you have to prove you're an American citizen, prove that you are who you are by showing ID to vote. All of this very important so we don't get in the same situation we're in now. You want to see one of the Republicans that's blocking this? There's at least 4 of them. Look at this.
McConnell, can you give us some information on why you blocked the SAVE Act, or any information on your thoughts on what Rep. Tim Burchett said about staffers running your office? Any comments, sir?
He's gone, okay? There's nobody there. Staffers aren't supposed to be running his office. The elected official is supposed to be running his office. Mitch McConnell certainly is not. He needs to step down, get somebody new in there. They ought to have him absolutely removed. He's in a wheelchair, for crying out loud. So again, we are being told that the SAVE Act, if we go to this talking filibuster, oh, no, it's too dangerous. The Democrats will hold up the United States Senate for months. They can offer up amendment after amendment after amendment, and nothing will get done, and it's just too perilous. Well, I trust Senator Mike Lee. Listen to what he had to say about that.
You should be deeply suspicious of senators telling you, sorry, we can't get the Save America Act passed because the Senate rules won't allow it. And then you ask the follow-up question, what about the talking filibuster? If they then say, sorry, it won't work, make them show their work. Make them establish why it is that it can't be done. It's awfully easy for somebody who can hide behind the complexity of the Senate rules to tell you that they don't want to do something by claiming that they can't do something.
And just for good measure, would you like to see why it is so important? They tell us, the Democrats do. They literally show their hand about why we need to get the SAVE Act through. Do they think they're not tipping us off? Chuck Schumer again.
But we could come up with a bill like that. It toughens up the border. It gives a path to citizenship, a long, tough path to citizenship for 11 million people who are here.
Stop the deportations. Give 11 million people a pathway to citizenship. And while they're working on that pathway, let's just allow them to vote in the meantime. That's what this is all about. Republicans, Democrats, the two of you ought to be ashamed of yourself, especially if you're holding elected office in the United States Senate. With me now to discuss this, former Trump administration advisor and congressional candidate in Florida, Catalina Loof is with us. Catalina, it's great to have you on the program.
Thanks for having me on, Grant.
All right, it's good to see you, Catalina. What do you think? I think the United States Senate, I'm almost done with both sides of them here. I mean, there's a few good Republicans in the Senate putting up a fight, but this seems like a lot of talk why nothing can get done.
You know what? When you have 70% of Democrats, 95% of Republicans, and 83% of the American people as a whole from all walks of life who support the Save America Act, and we're all united on it, but then Congress, who we elect, is divided on it, it is a very serious issue that is going on in our country, and it really shows exactly where we are in what we are supposed to be, which is a republic with a representative democracy. We, the people, hold the power. And when you have members of Congress who are not voting on behalf of the will of the people, they need to be elected out. And I hope that the midterms and whoever's up for Senate reelection on either side of the aisle, if they are not voting in favor of this, that we do our part, we the people do our part in holding them accountable, because this is absolutely ridiculous that we even have to vote on something so fundamental to our Republican values.
Yeah, it is amazing that this hasn't been done way earlier. I think this caught a lot of people by surprise until they realized, oh, you know what? I never really did have to prove I'm an American citizen when I registered to vote. But you raised something interesting because, you know, you talked about elected leaders should be doing the job that the people elected them to do. And then I look at Mitch McConnell in a wheelchair, and by all accounts, it's his staff that's running the office, Catalina.
Yeah, you know, first of all, why do you have anybody on either side of the aisle in office for 30, 40, years? I'm a huge proponent of term limits, but until we get that done, we, the people, need to be doing our job in holding these so-called leaders, members accountable. You know, Mitch McConnell at the end of the day is still elected. So at some point, people need to vote him out if he will not retire on his own. And so it ultimately comes down to we the people. And I want to remind, the viewers here that unless we get involved, unless we want to actually do the grassroots, do the hard work, support candidates all across the country in every community, then this will continue to go on. And so I really hope that people and viewers, especially now coming up with the midterms, really see how serious this stuff is. It's things like, the Laken Riley Act, for example. We've gotten to a point where I know that's different than the Save America Act, but I'll tell you in general, common sense legislation that is good for America is no longer on the docket anymore. There was a time where people would come together in Congress and actually push legislation that was good for the American people. That is not happening today. And the fact that even some Republicans are holding this hostage is even more, it's even more insulting, again, to what our founding fathers and the values of of this republic, what we were founded upon. They would be rolling in their graves right now.
I think you're right about that. A member of Congress who you'd probably be on the same team as him, Representative Brandon Gill. He represents a part of Texas, not far from where I broadcast from. This is what he said about what's going on in the Senate.
The left's open borders were, I think, most stingingly a part of a deliberate policy to influence our elections, even at the expense of American families. An attempt to flood our country with illegal aliens, to distort congressional representation, to provide a pathway for them to vote, all part of a political program that was not just deeply cynical, but absolutely grotesque.
All right, so Catalina, you're running for Congress in Florida. Last word I'll give you. What can the people out there do to make a difference here, real quick, if you can?
You need to get involved. You need to support America First candidates like Congressman Gill. You know, I'm running in Southwest Florida, CatalinaForCongress.com. We'd love to have your support, but also just please get involved. You know, this is absolutely ridiculous that we have come to this point. And I hope that this is an awakening moment for the people, because something like this that the majority of Americans support should absolutely be forefront of this legislative agenda.
Absolutely, it should. Catalina, it's always good to see you. CatalinaForCongress.com is the website. Help her out. We'll see you soon, Catalina. Have a nice weekend. All right. Moving on now to the other big story today. Former President Bill Clinton. He was in the testimony room in Chappaqua, New York, not far from his house. He still gets special privileges. They moved the whole committee up to interview him and his wife, Hillary, this week. This, I believe, is the most important soundbite to come out of the deposition today. It's stated by James Comer, the committee chairman, but he's quoting Bill Clinton about President Trump.
Ranking Member Garcia asked President Clinton, quote, should President Trump be called to answer questions from this committee? And President Clinton said, that's for you to decide. And the president went on to say that the president, Trump, has never said anything to me to make me think he was involved, and he meant with Epstein. So,
all right, again, over and over and over again, every piece of evidence, everyone who's asked about this says there is no evidence of President Trump and any involvement with Epstein. And the Democrats are going down a very dangerous road now, because it's only Democrats that are now getting caught up in this complete mess. Now, if anybody would know if President Trump had any involvement with Epstein, it would most certainly be Bill Clinton. He took 27 flights with Jeffrey Epstein and then claimed he had no idea of Jeffrey Epstein's illicit behavior, never witnessed it, never saw it, that if he saw anything like that, he would have called the authorities himself. Do you believe him? I don't. He said nothing happened. That picture of him in the hot tub with Jeffrey Epstein and the young woman floating around, said it was a public hotel. Nothing happened there. Who could forget that picture? 17 trips to the White House Epstein took to visit with Bill Clinton. And Clinton says, nope, I never saw the salacious sexual activity. Well, here was President Trump being asked about the testimony of Bill Clinton today.
I don't know anything about the Epstein files. You know, I've been fully exonerated.
So here's my question. Why would Epstein be with Clinton? If we take Clinton at his word, which I don't, by the way, but if we did and there was none of this crazy sexual extravaganzas going on, maybe Epstein wanted Clinton's contacts. Maybe he wanted his introductions. It is becoming more and more clear to me that Epstein wasn't making his money off of the sex predator nonsense that he was engaging in. He was making his money off of spying, running guns, working for the Israeli government, working for Middle Eastern bigwigs like Adnan Khashoggi, moving money all over the place. That's how I think Epstein was making his money. Anna Paulina Luna said this after the hearing today.
It has become very evident, even in the last 24 hours in lines of questioning, that Jeffrey Epstein was running an intelligence gathering operation. In my professional opinion, I do believe it was a honeypot operation.
Could have been. I'd like to see more and more evidence of this. I think there's plenty of evidence that Jeffrey Epstein was a dirtbag. I do think he abused young girls, and anyone involved in that should pay the price for this. I think it goes a lot deeper than that. I'm not going to say worse, because that's about as bad as it gets, but it most certainly goes deeper. And to the highest levels of government, both here in the United States and foreign, with how he was moving money, what he was moving, the arms deals, the intelligence gathering, all of it. The answers are not at the Department of Justice. That's not where we need the Epstein files. The answer to the Epstein files are inside the CIA and the State Department. Those are the agencies where you need to be demanding the Epstein files from. All right, I want to turn now to Kamala Harris. It looks like to me like she's going to try to run for president again. Do you believe this? So is this going to be the battle between the two California buffoons, Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris? Well, Kamala Harris made some wild claims on how few Americans can prove they're American citizens.
You know what the SAVE Act would do? Require that people show a birth certificate or a passport to register to vote. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but it's something like 40% of Americans don't have those documents.
40% of Americans don't have those documents? That doesn't sound right. Well, a friend of mine did some fact checking on all of this. I want to bring her in to help us out here. Host of The Morning Answer out on AM 870 in Los Angeles. Jennifer Horn is back. Jen, it's great to see you.
Great to see you, and happy belated birthday.
Thank you very much, Jen. So 40% of Americans, what's that, 100 million people, a little more than that maybe. Can you run the numbers here for me?
Let's do it. So I was doing my radio show, and I played that clip, and I did exactly what your face did. I went, 40% of Americans don't have an ID or a birth certificate. I mean, I've seen a lot of ding-dongs driving around in Priuses with masks. That can't be 40% of the country. That's that bad, right? So it literally took me 3 minutes to run a little Google search. So I typed in, what is 40% of America? So the number is between 132 and 134 million Americans. So let's just, for argument's sake, put that right in the middle and say 40% of the country is 133 million people. So then I said, well, how many of those people have birth certificates? And this is a tough one, Grant. Now, how many people do you think would have a birth certificate in this country? I'll help you out. It's over 99% of Americans have a birth certificate. So to give her the benefit of doubt, I know things happen. I typed in how many people have lost, stolen, or destroyed birth certificates. The answer is 3.8 million people. So then I took it a step further. It's amazing what you can Google in about 2.5 seconds. And I asked how many people have a passport. Because a lot of people on the left love to say that everybody doesn't have a passport. Over 51% of the country has a passport. Well, how many of those people have driver's licenses? Do you know that 91% of age-eligible Americans have a driver's license? So I even took it a step further because this is fresh in my mind. I just had to go to the Department of Motor Vehicles to renew my license, and they forced me into getting that real ID. And I've been holding off on it. You know that I've been holding off on it, but I had to show a passport and another form of identification, which the Democrats in my state of California love to say everybody needs a real ID. Of course, we don't need ID to vote, but we need it for the real ID.
Wait a second.
In 2022, 137 million Americans had real IDs in 2022. That's 4 years ago.
I got to go back to this because in California, where they don't want voter ID, that's like the leading state where no voter ID.
Right.
They don't want black people and Hispanics driving, I guess. Is that it? I mean, you had to show ID to get a driver's license. This is driving suppression.
It is. And imagine that, because, in California, they're really happy to give illegal immigrants driver's licenses. I don't know why I had to show up and give 2 forms of identification. It's madness. And so for all of this fear mongering, that's all it is. Kamala Harris, the rest of the Democrats are trying to fearmonger into saying that President Trump doesn't want women or people of color to vote. It's insulting, it's nonsense, and it's all filled with lies.
Let me play one more clip from Kamala Harris and see what you think about this.
Married women, if you changed your name when you got married, it's going to be different than what's on your birth certificate, right? And what that's going to do in terms of complicating the ability of women to register to vote.
Jen?
Yeah, how insulting. Because, you dingbat women, you can't figure out how to go change your name. It's not like people don't do that every time they get married, Grant. I mean, it's insulting, whether it's Kamala Harris saying women can't figure this out, or it's Gavin Newsom sitting in front of a group of black voters saying he's just like them and he can't read either. These people, if this were President Trump saying any of this, forget about it. But somehow Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom get away with being sexist and racist every day.
Yeah. What they forget to tell you, too, is in the Save America Act, it is specifically written out that you can bring your marriage license and match it to your current driver's license as well. So that's taken care of. That's an absolute fallacy of a lie. Lastly, I'll ask you this question. Is she going to run again? Is she running for president, do you think? And would they go head to head, Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris?
Yes, and yes, and yes. Look, these guys are the ultimate frenemies. They love to hate each other. They both know where each other have buried their bodies. So one thing I'll tell you, as much as the idea of Gavin Newsom or Kamala Harris anywhere near the presidency makes me shudder, get ready for the primary. Pop your popcorn, because these two will be vicious with one another.
Yeah. Should be interesting to watch, as everything is out there in California. Yes. Jennifer Horn, it's great to have you on the program. At Jennifer Horn on the platform X. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you soon. Check her out, AM 870 out in Los Angeles. All right, folks, listen up. International disputes, inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There is a never-ending list of reasons gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years. And a never-ending list of reasons smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals with Birch Gold Group. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. Just text America to the number 989898 to receive your free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. Again, text America to the number 989898. Do it today. President Trump says he's not happy with ongoing Iran negotiations. What does that mean? We'll talk about it next.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was a cover-up.
Why would he trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy. It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
My name is Tina, and I'm in Dallas, Texas. I'm so grateful to be able to get my news from an organization like Real America's Voice.
Welcome back, everyone. So Cuba continues to make some news after having that firefight with an American boat, taking some people hostage. We're still waiting to figure out all the details on that. Then, of course, Cuba's basically cut off, not getting a lot of oil. It's in dire straits. And now I'm learning, I don't know, Cuba may become my next vacation spot pretty soon. Listen to this.
The Cuban government is talking with us, and they're in a big deal of trouble, as you know. They have no money, they have no anything right now, but they're talking with us, and maybe we'll have a friendly takeover of Cuba.
Only President Trump can have a friendly takeover of another nation. What is Cuba going to do, actually? If President Trump doesn't stop or call off the pressure on Cuba, Cuba's in a world of hurt, and it is a brutal regime. The Cuban people want freedom. There is no doubt about that. It is time to make a deal, Cuba. You ought to do it, because you're on the ropes. Trump again.
Cuba right now is, to put it mildly, a failing nation. And I've been hearing about Cuba. I said before, since I'm a little boy, I've been hearing about Cuba, and everybody wanted to change. And I can see that happening. Marco Rubio is dealing on it.
Marco Rubio, lots of jobs. Cuba, one of them. We'll see how that plays out. Now to the one front and center. Iran. What is going to happen? Is America going to launch a strike against Iranian interests within the next 48 hours? That's what a lot of people are saying. We now have F-22s that are now moved into the area, specifically in Israel. This gives us a lot of capabilities. You've got the USS Ford carrier moving into the Middle East, putting itself in a position between Iran and Israel, not to mention the giant armada that is already there. Here's President Trump on Iran.
We're not going to see what's happened for 47 years. Keep going. 47 years we've been doing this with them. The Obama deal was the worst deal. Nobody ever saw a deal so stupid. Right now, if you did the Obama deal, if that held, if I didn't terminate it, Iran would have a nuclear weapon, and it would be a whole different ballgame.
Now's where the politics come in. You got Thomas Massie, this total thorn in President Trump's side, so-called Republican, moving with Democrats to try to push a war powers resolution that would stop President Trump from acting on Iran. There could be a vote as early as next week. That would actually, in my mind, speed up the timeline for President Trump, but I think the GOP will be able to push back on that resolution. Iran would retaliate against Israel. Now, consider this. We have the USS Ford move in between Iran and Israel. That would mean Iran would have to be shooting its ballistic missiles over, around, or, God forbid, through U.S. interests. That would warrant another direct response from America. Maybe that's by design. Why would you put a $13.3 billion aircraft carrier in harm's way unless you wanted it to be there? It would spark a direct response from the United States. We shall see how this all plays out. I want to bring in now decorated F-16 fighter pilot and author of Never Fly Solo, retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Rob Waldman is with us. Colonel Waldman, welcome to the program.
Great to be here, Grant.
All right. Welcome to the program, sir. I guess since you're a fighter pilot, these F-22s, what does that mean? What capabilities does that give us? You take anything away from these being moved into Israel?
No, I think it's a significant move. The absolute complexity, the stealthiness, the weapon sophistication that most Americans don't even know about is going to be absolutely critical in creating a deterrent impact. And also, obviously, Israel, who actually demonstrated their technical and military prowess. What they did last year was amazing as a partner with the United States. So we are getting our ducks in a row. And believe me, if we do strike, which I think it's 50-50 at this point, and I would lean towards it happening as opposed to not, we're going to have a lot of assets in the area, a lot of intel with our partners, Israel, by our side.
You know, Colonel, I've had a few of my sources that are either in the administration now or around the administration now, and they all say it's not a question of if, it's when. Is there any timing that would lead you to believe that this would happen sooner than later? How are you looking at how this might play out if you were planning this from a war planning perspective?
Well, there's always an element of surprise, which is absolutely critical in any military tactic or campaign. But, you know, President Trump had a deadline, and the more he delays that deadline, the more he's going to be showing potential weakness and giving Iran and its proxies more time to put together a plan to potentially attack our assets and our allies or our infrastructure. So he's playing his cards very close to his chest. But as we know, President Trump has a method to his madness. They left the negotiating table today with Iran supposedly happy and with President Trump not. And he's making it very, very clear that if they don't step up, if they don't, come to the table with a significant, contract, so to speak, in place that they're going to reduce their nuclear weapons and they're going to stop enriching uranium, then we're going to have to act. And we talk about the red line a lot that Obama never crossed and never took action on. President Trump is a man of action. His administration is one of action. And I would be very surprised if no action is taken on behalf of our president and our military forces.
Colonel, what do you think about the theory of putting the USS Ford directly in between Iran and Israel right now? A lot of people think it's there to protect Israel. I actually believe it would give the United States an excuse. If they fire missiles over our aircraft carrier there, that would be considered a direct attack on America. Would we, and could we, and I think we probably would, unleash the full force and might of our assets there if they do that?
I would say so. I do think what's going to happen up front is just a limited campaign. Obviously, if they do put our forces at risk, we will retaliate. And I'm sure there's a lot going on between our negotiators, both militarily and diplomatically, that are once again saying things that aren't making the news. But I do not think it will be the full force initially, but it will be a very, very powerful strategic strike on their communication, perhaps some command and control to black out some of their systems. You saw what Israel did last year, taking out the systems. The amount of intel that we gained from that and the amount of intel that we have gained is basically putting our forces at less of a risk, but definitely we're going to walk in there with confidence. And you saw we did that in Venezuela. We have a plan. We're demonstrating confidence. And if President Trump doesn't act and or get a solution, it's going to be, I don't think it's going to bode well for his campaign, because he is a man of action and he has to do something.
Yeah, he sure does. Lieutenant Colonel Rob Waldman, thank you for coming on the program. Great job. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon, I hope.
You too. Looking forward.
All right. Thank you. All right. Hey, let me just play one quick clip, because this is President Trump, cut 4 for the guys behind the glass.
We've had tremendous luck with myself, Soleimani, al-Baghdadi. Everything's worked out, and then we do the Midnight Hammer and so many others. Everything's worked out, and we want to keep it that way. But we're going to see. Look, it'd be wonderful if they negotiate really in good conscience, good faith and conscience, but they are not getting there.
Well, you heard the colonel say the United States is not happy with these talks. Iran can talk about how great they went. If the United States isn't happy, that doesn't bode well for Iran. All right. February is National Cancer Prevention Awareness Month, and if you or a loved one is battling cancer, we need to make sure that no stone is left unturned in the effort to stay healthy, okay? That's where the Wellness Company comes in. The Wellness Company and their doctors or medical professionals that you can trust. From ivermectin to methylene blue, their fantastic new product, Shield, the Wellness Company gives you the opportunity to make the promise of the MAHA movement a reality for you and your family. This February, let's take control of our health. Go to twc.health/voice. Use the promo code VOICE to save 10%. Our body language and behavior segment with our expert Greg Hartley is next. Who should we put under the microscope? Maybe her.
Exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted.
Seditious conspiracy.
But behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th, like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now. Welcome to Real America's Voice Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
There's a light I've always followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer. In the moments I'm afraid, there's a whisper in the wind and a story in the sky. When I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Friday. That means it's time for our body language segment, my favorite segment of the week. Joining me now, host of the Behavior Panel on YouTube. He is a former military interrogator. Body language and behavior expert Greg Hartley is with us. Greg, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Grant. Always my pleasure.
All right, Greg, I was excited to do this because Hillary Clinton goes in and does her testimony. She feigns outrage over this picture being leaked about her, and she does come out and speak, and she says she never met Epstein. Let's roll clip one.
I don't know how many times I had to say I did not know Jeffrey Epstein. I never went to his island. I never went to his homes. I never went to his offices. So it's on the record numerous times.
Greg?
So, Grant, we've watched her many times, and we know when she's feeling duress, she'll cover joints, she'll protect, she'll do the same things you do. But the problem is these people have done this stuff so many times, and they get really good at it. An average person might walk in front of a camera and have a hard time telling you what their birthday is. But these people do it so much, they get so comfortable with it, and then they get in control. Even if she was outright lying, she could still do this. And she's doing two things that are characteristic of her. That amused smile that she uses to be sarcastic, and that head bobble when she's in charge of the conversation. So this is her. This is 101.
I sense, now this is me guessing, I sense she's annoyed, and I think she's super annoyed with her husband.
Well, we can't tell who she's annoyed with. You know, we say, don't have a crystal ball. I can guess an extra step. She probably is really pissed that he got her in this position. Yes, but that's a guess. What I can see is she is irritated, and she has that little head bobble thing she does and that snarky smile that she uses to ridicule you when you're asking her questions. So she's irritated for sure.
All right, let's roll one more clip from her outside of the hearing yesterday.
I started being asked about UFOs and a series of questions about Pizzagate, one of the most vile, bogus conspiracy theories that was propagated on the internet, that was serving as the basis of a member's questions to me.
All right, Greg.
Really good body language here, and we saw it in the first one. That dismissal, that lip pursing is disapproval and pushing a person away. That was a great redirect to move into something about where she was being questioned for things that had nothing to do with Epstein. A lot easier for her to move off onto a new topic and get control. And she's masterful at it. She's just brilliant.
Yeah, she is a master at it. I'm surprised Bill didn't come out and talk today. We would have done that. That would have been great. But he's another one that's a master of all. You know, when he says, I did not have sex with that woman, were you doing body language? Did you read that as a lie, Greg? Or did you?
Well, I was a soldier, so I couldn't really talk about the boss. But yeah, at that time. But when he said, I did not have sexual relations with that woman, I love that one because he distances all this thing and even declares that woman and clarifies her name, Miss Lewinsky, so there's no confusion about any other woman. I love how bad a lie that was. He even changed fundamentally body language because before that, presidents all did this when they would say something. He did this. And people changed their body language afterwards. Really interesting.
Wow. It's amazing. Presidents can certainly get people to change body language. Look, I even copy President Trump. I use my hands like this just from watching him do it so often. All right, Lauren Boebert, who's a great friend of this program, she's a personal friend of mine. She released a photo to our buddy Benny Johnson, and she was asked about this coming out of the hearing yesterday. We'll do a little body language on Lauren Boebert.
Representative Boebert, can you talk to us about why you sent that picture? I just returned to my hotel room and installed a bleach bit software and took a camera to my iPad. So I guess in regards to photos, I do not recall.
This is clearly emulation of what's going on inside the room. I do not recall the bleach, but all that stuff is a reference to Hillary Clinton's commentary, I'm sure. And you can see it in her face. She's amused and kind of snarky with it and kind of playful if you see her face. There's no stress in her face there. She's just playing the game.
She tweeted out the release of that photo didn't kill any ambassadors either. And we know what that was a reference to.
Yep.
President Trump at his State of the Union. I mean, this guy, speaking of a master, let's watch him. Cut 9.
The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
We've seen the president do the flaming bag of poo on your front porch to a single person before. He just did it to a whole party here. He just said, you either believe in this or you don't. They didn't stand up. And what's the interesting body language is watch a couple of them look at each other for some reinforcement about what they should do before sitting there and then dropping their faces to hide from it. That's a really difficult thing to stand up to. I don't think most people have the strength to sit there through it. So interesting. That just means whatever he said.
So the body language on this was more on Democrats for sitting, not knowing what to do. They got set up in a big way, and really, this is not using your noggin and thinking on your feet, no pun intended, Greg.
That's right. That's right. If they were smart, they would have stood up and maybe not clapped, but at least stood up and said, hey, yeah, we stand up for that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's run one more from President Trump. Oh, this is what he was awarding the Medal of Honor to Eric Slover. Let's listen to that.
In recognition of Eric's actions above and beyond the call of duty, I would now like to ask General Jonathan Braga to present Chief Warrant Officer Slover with our nation's highest military award, the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Greg, why did you choose this clip?
I'll just say this. Watching this, it's hard for me to sit down. You know, if you feel like you need to stand up when a guy that's just gone through this is there. What I love about this is watch his body language. He's contained. You can see the emotion in him. He's containing that emotion with blink rate. And who wouldn't? This is the highest honor anybody can get. You only see one time he adapts, and that's right there on his walker. And this is military bearing at its best. What a fantastic version of a soldier.
And when you say adapt, what was going on there?
Oh, yeah, thanks. Just a small to adjust to a stressful situation or a situation you're not comfortable in. We make adaptive movements. We may rub our hands or play with our nails, and we only see one little grip with his thumb in the entire thing. What a great soldier standing.
You know, these guys, they never think they're heroes. I've talked to a whole bunch of them, and they never think they're heroes. They get in really uncomfortable positions in this, but God bless that man. And you too, Greg, for serving the way you did for us, to everybody that put a flag on their shoulder. All right, last one I do not have as much respect for. I wanted to play this because I've really made it my mission to try to call out members of Congress who trade on insider information. Play the Nancy Pelosi clip for me. I want to see your reaction to this, Greg.
Put forth. We thought it could pass, but it was clear that it wasn't going to make it to the House and the Senate. But in any event, he gives his shout out. I don't pay any attention to him. What I'm concerned about is our democracy, which he is destroying, even in the 250th year anniversary. But we saved the democracy at the kitchen table.
Yeah, watch that transition. She tries to trail off and say, we're going to do this, even though she's probably one of the worst at doing this. Mm-hmm. She trails off and says, we're going to try to do that. And then she has to try to turn on Trump and see her raise her hands and shift directions. She redirects and makes it the party message. This woman's been heckling presidents since Reagan, literally. So you would think nothing would shake her.
You know, I'm not sure I've ever seen her bring her hands all the way up to her face almost. Does that tell you anything?
All she's doing, she's trying to get the message across. She had just stumbled earlier when they were talking about I can't think of her name now, but about one of the other people, Warren standing up. Yeah. And so I almost called her a derogatory name. So anyway, when
Pocahontas, you can call her Pocahontas on this show, Greg.
Not that, but I was just going to call her the fake Indian. But yeah, when she's raising her hands and doing this, I think it's because she's trying to get back to party lines. She's putting some control. Remember, we watched Biden do that all the time, try to get to televangelists because you can be on message easier.
Interesting. Greg, always great work, fascinating stuff. Thank you for coming on tonight, as always.
My pleasure. Thanks.
All right. Please check out Greg's website at readbodylanguage.com. That's readbodylanguage.com, and his YouTube show, The Behavior Panel. All right, leftists have been insulting Trump's State of the Union address, but how many of them even watched it? Okay, this is a good one next.
Exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
6 wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted.
Seditious conspiracy.
But behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now. Welcome to Real America's Voice Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
There's a light I've always followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer. In the moments I'm afraid, there's a whisper in the wind and a story in the sky. When I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light.
I'm going to paint a broad brush over all Democrats. They're liars. Most of them. I'm sure not all of them are, but most of them are. I want you to watch this clip of a Daily Wire reporter who went and interviewed university students the day before President Trump's State of the Union address. The day before.
College kids are telling us Trump's State of the Union didn't go so well. The only problem? It's tomorrow. Rate Trump's State of the Union speech 1 out of 10. 1's the worst, 10's the best. Negatives. And why? I think we all know a lot of reasons. Yeah. What about the State of the Union last night? 1 to 10.
It was like a 1 or 2. I mean, it was all over the place.
Probably just give it a 0.
I'm gonna give it a 1.
And why do you say 1?
I don't think he's very articulate.
Articulate? You didn't even see it. So those people just lied to her. Why wouldn't they say? One person, by the way, at the end did say, hey, isn't it tomorrow? So they're willing to lie. Now, where would they pick up this behavior from? How about people like Jimmy Kimmel, the failed late night host? Listen to him.
And Trump just, he said 0 illegal aliens have been allowed to the United States on his watch, but the door is always open to those who come in legally to be his next wife. So that's something. He bragged about ending DEI. He bragged about kicking 2 million people off food stamps. It was like a Christmas message from the Grinch.
Here's the only problem. Kimmel didn't see it either. He tapes that show at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. President Trump's speech wasn't until 9 o'clock Eastern. So you see the problem here? And then, of course, we could go all the way down to the Democrats' response to the State of the Union. It happens right after. So they didn't actually hear or see the State of the Union, which tells me that Abigail Spanberger, the governor of Virginia, is also a liar.
In his speech tonight, the president did what he always does. He lied, he scapegoated, and he distracted. And he offered no real solutions to our nation's pressing challenges, so many of which he is actively making worse. He tries to divide us. He tries to enrage us, to pit us against one another.
So clearly it was written before the speech because Trump didn't do any of those things. What he did do was offer up solutions. He talked about his prescription medication plan. He talked about how he's working for peace throughout the globe. He talked about his ways to bring down inflation, drill, baby, drill. He talked about all of these things, Trump accounts, to make sure that people have a path forward when it comes to prosperity. The Democrats simply lie. They told you what they expected to happen, even though it didn't actually happen. It's really pretty despicable behavior. All right, Ronald Reagan shows his love for President Trump. We'll talk about that next.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted.
Seditious conspiracy.
But behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th, like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit realamericasvoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now. They tried to shut them up.
There's no guarantee to free speech.
They tried to cancel them.
Deplatforming works.
They even threw them in jail.
Peter Navarro.
Steve Bannon.
Now in prison.
But they couldn't stop them.
It's not a prison bill that will ever shut me up.
They call them rebels.
Basket of deplorables.
They call them rogues.
They claim to guns or religion.
And they say they're outlaws.
These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
War Room presents Rebels, Rogues, and Outlaws.
You set out to take Vienna. Take Vienna.
The national bestseller by longtime Bannon producer Dan Fluette. Take a journey through the pictorial history of War Room in a culture that celebrates the weak. Show your support by standing with the rebels. Go to doitfluette.com or scan the QR code on your screen. Use the code RAV20 for 20% off your order. Stand with the rebels and never back down.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's see, what is this? On AF1, Air Force One, Ted Cruz asked Dennis Quaid, who played Ronald Reagan, by the way,